Fellow Falcoholics, what is up? Welcome to episode 343 of the Falcoholic Live. I'm your host, Kevin. I joined by my co-host, Adnan Ikic. We are here to bring you the final takes on the Falcons roster. I'm just kidding. These are the first takes on the Falcons' final, aka initial 53-man roster. And we have some practice squad set up. Not the entire practice squad, although maybe they might have one free spot still, considering the reported moves that the team hasn't announced yet. But lots of roster takes today, roster sickos. This is your episode. This is your time. If you want, I know there's been a lot of people saying, like, wow, it's really dumb that you're arguing over the third stringers. It's like, this is the show for that. Like, if we're not going to do it now?
Or dumber stuff, like, throughout the year. Like,
if we can't argue over third stringers now, like, when can you argue over third stringers? So this is the time for that.
That's the whole fun of it. Like, all this, like, the training camps. Like, of course, Bijan Robinson's good. Nobody cares about, how does Bijan look? Great. He looks great. Drake London also looks great. It's like, the whole point of training camp was like, all right, well, what's going on in that battle between David Sills and Nick Nash? What's going on between Khalid Kareem and D'Angelo Malone? That's the majority of the takes the past month.
Yeah, like, this is the opportunity to do that. We're probably not going to talk about these guys, like, much at all throughout the season. I mean, hopefully, if we do talk about them, it's because they've played their way into the starting lineup or something. But otherwise, they're probably not going to get much pop. So this is their time to get pop. And I think Khalid Kareem, being slighted for the roster deserves a little pop. But also, guys, while we will argue passionately here, like, let's just, it's not that big a deal. Ultimately, it isn't that big a deal, but it's still fun to argue about. So we're going to do some of that tonight. We're going to talk about the 53-man roster, also talk about the practice squad that we heard about today. Like I said, I think there's maybe one open spot still. And, of course, talk a little bit more. Trayshawn and I talked about it yesterday, but going to have to get Adnan's take, unfortunately, on Kaleb McGary out for the season and what this team can do about it. Thankfully, they did do something about it today. The move that I think a lot of people were hoping for, although kind of surprising that they were able to get him on the practice squad. We'll talk about that too. But yeah, thanks guys for joining us. Like and subscribe if you don't mind. Retweet the tweet if you're on the Twitters or whatever you want to do. But we appreciate everybody hanging out with us tonight. Thank you guys. And Drew Elliott, you're welcome, man. No problem. Hopefully it's helpful. Hopefully the information was helpful for you, and definitely, go for it, man. If I know Drew had messaged me some questions about getting into sports media, which of course don't mind answering any questions. I mean, I'm still very early in my sports media journey, but it's a potentially dicey one. It's a fraught one, but it can be a lot of fun. So shout out to Drew. Thank you for reaching out, and I hope the information's helpful. All right, so we're gonna get into roster stuff tonight. But real quick, want to check in because we are heading into week one on the week one odds. I've been wondering all day if after that McGary news, if we were going to see a shift in the week one odds. So far, no. Falcons remain 1.5 point underdogs per FanDuel against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in week one. Are you surprised, Adnan, that the line hasn't moved at this point?
No. So I figured it would have moved a little bit away from Atlanta's favor with that news, but then again, I guess like Tampa Bay has like even bigger injury like concerns than we do right now. Like, McGary's good, but like Tristan Wirfs is a much better player, and he's going to be out. So yeah, I mean, I can see their viewpoint here.
Yeah, it's not. Maybe I mean, it might have also been kind of baked in because we've been waiting on this, news for like a week now. So, and of course, like you said, the Bucs are dealing with their own slew of injuries with new ones seemingly popping up every day. I mean, we'll see.
Otten may be out too.
Yeah, Otten's possibly out. We know that Godwin's starting on PUP. Amika Igbukah fantasy stock's way up. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting looking Bucs team, and obviously the Falcons are also going to be reeling from their own set of injuries here. So we'll see how things shake out there. But let's talk about Kaleb McGary a little bit first. But
before we start,
yeah, go ahead.
Just a question for the class. This is not football related. So one of the reasons why I was late, I just looked out my front door and someone I think Uber Eats sent the wrong food or sent the food to the wrong address, and I like don't know what to do about it. Like there's no address like on there. It's just saying, all right, this is how much you paid for it. So I don't know like.
So they just like dropped it and left, and then it was just like on your porch.
Yeah, they just dropped it on the porch and left, and it's like, do I just now like eat it? Do I like what do I have no idea where that food goes.
I guess I mean if there doesn't seem to be any recourse, like there's no contact information, there's no phone number, like
there's a first name and that's it, and I'm like, okay, like Chris. Well, what does that tell me? Like, sorry, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could hold it for like an hour or something, and then if Chris doesn't come calling or Uber Eats doesn't come calling, then go for it. Yeah, I mean, if there's no contact information, there's not really much you can do.
Nothing.
Yeah.
All I know is how much Chris paid for it, and it's like, I mean, shit.
Yeah, it feels bad, but
order, like, I feel bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think you've done your due diligence looking for, any sort of contact information. You didn't just immediately devour it, like,
No.
Uber Eats has had a chance to come, back to your door and ask for the food. So, I mean, I assume it's been, probably at least 10 or 15 minutes now. So,
yeah, and the 0.001% that Chris is watching, chance that Chris is watching us right now, I have your food, bro.
Yeah, call me soon because I don't know what kind of food it is, but
yeah, it looks good too. It's like this like spicy chicken like thing, and this like soy chicken, whatever. But it smells good. That's for sure. So
yeah, well, I think
hold on.
Yeah. I think if there hasn't been any movement on that front by the end of the show, I think you're in the clear. So, I think it would be like morally reprehensible to waste the food, honestly. So
I think that would be even worse. That would be even worse. All right, that's all I was here for.
Okay, I'm glad we were able to navigate that moral quandary to help Adnan with that tonight. Now we have to navigate the far less fun quandary of figuring out what the hell we're going to do about Kaleb McGary being out for the season. Which it didn't shock me. I'm sure it didn't shock you either, Adnan.
No, not at all.
But it sucks. We're gonna have to figure it out. And the Falcons have made a series of small moves. There was the trade for Michael Jarrell, who I think is like an intriguing developmental guy. I mean, I think he's certainly better than Brandon Parker, but I don't know that he's like going to be pushing to start anytime soon. And then they did claim, they didn't really claim. They just signed Carter Warren to the practice squad, who I think is actually maybe the best option of all these guys. But again, he's still pretty young and might need some time himself. And they also signed, I believe, Ryan Hayes, who I don't know too much about, but apparently he's also a tackle to the practice squad. So a lot of guys being brought in. We have, it seems like Elijah Wilkinson is being prepared to start, which kind of doesn't shock because, again, he's been here. They've had, I think by the time the season starts, he'll have had like 3 weeks-ish to get acclimated, which is, I mean, the only thing you can say that's good is like at least this didn't happen like today or like, tomorrow or next week when it's like, oh, now we have to throw somebody random into the lineup. At least Wilkinson will have, an extended amount of time to prepare and does have tackle experience. But I mean, obviously it's a huge loss. I mean, what do you think about where we're standing now in terms of the tackle position?
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I think it's very bad. I was like, I'm still holding out some hope, but it's not much. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to really judge the tackle position until after we, get to final cuts. We've gotten to final cuts. The Falcons do make a move at tackle. It's Michael Jarrell from Seattle, who this isn't going to cut it. Like, he is a guy that couldn't crack a rotation on a Seattle team that has a very poor offensive line. And I'm sure the Seahawks were absolutely thrilled to even get a conditional 7th rounder for him. Last year, he was arguably the worst rookie tackle in the NFL. I think PFF graded him out as like the 2nd worst pass blocking rookie tackle and the 3rd worst run blocking rookie tackle. Like, if you want to look at Jarrell as a possible, like, okay, maybe we have him as a sort of developmental piece, like for a year from now, maybe 2 years from now, we'll sort of stick him on the practice squad and we'll have him in camp, and we're sort of just gonna have him sort of grow a little bit when it comes to that. But this is not a person whom you want getting snaps in week 1. It's not a person whom you want getting snaps at all. Like, I don't think he's ready for that right now. We saw it last year. Elijah Wilkinson at right tackle, like we sort of talked about that as a possibility, but I think deep down we all were sort of dreading the idea. And I mean, sure, they signed a couple guys to the practice squad, but like you, I don't know much about Hayes. Carter Warren, just basing it off of his PFF numbers last year, he was a horrendous pass blocker last year, albeit an okay run blocker. I don't like where we're at right now with the tackle position at all. Like, I think it's a black hole on the offense, and the fact that it's going to be Michael Penix's blind side, like this is probably the right tackle on the Falcons is probably the second most important position on this team after quarterback. This is bad. Like, this is really bad. I'm looking at the offensive linemen that made it. Jack Nelson making the roster is really bad. None of this gives me any sort of confidence. It doesn't give me any sort of hope. And the fact, if this is the only thing that they've done, it completely reeks of complacency. And I feel like they're underestimating just how much they can sort of get away with this. Because there is, I think Storm Norton's going to be out by the bye week or through the bye week. Most likely. I mean, if you're sitting there at 1-3, which is completely possible after those first 4 weeks, looking at what those first 4 weeks are, like this season can start derailing very, very quickly by the time you're waiting for Storm Norton to get back.
Yeah, I think it could be very dicey. We're going to have to try to find a way to make it work, whether that, they're going to obviously give Wilkinson the first crack at it. They had to go with someone in-house, at least initially, until, while they figure this out. And, Wilkinson has played tackle before that. He hasn't played it in several years, but does have experience there. Has been a competent guard for Atlanta in the past, but again, it's like that's a different situation. But in terms of the options they had, that's kind of the best one, I guess. So, whatever that means. But I do think it's dicey, with Michael Gerald. I did look into him, a little bit more. Reading Lance Zierlein's scouting report did give me a little bit of hope in that this is a guy that came out of Division II Findlay University, which is in Ohio, I think. And the fact that he did play and make a roster coming out of D2, it's an achievement. We're not talking about like grand gestures here, but that's impressive. And then he did struggle. Like he ended up, I think, starting 4 games last year. 3 of those games were bad, but the final game, which he played in week 18, he graded out as an average tackle. So, and the one line that I take away really strongly from Zierlein's scouting report is, rapid growth is possible because he's got all the tools and he just needs pro coaching. So this is, the silver lining here. Like, maybe this is a guy that after a year, we could be looking at him being like a competent swing tackle. I don't know that we're still, the on-ramp for him playing this year is necessarily there. But
that would be excellent. Like that would be an excellent scenario. And I'm not here to sort of throw darts at Michael Gerald. Like I think maybe a year from now, like that would be fantastic. If we're talking about it here, that he's developed a year from now, and he's in that swing tackle competition, he sort of takes that roster spot. But I don't think anyone is confident, or I don't think anyone who's sort of like. Who sort of knows the actual offensive line position is confident in him, being your starter or a heavily rotated player in for this team for the first 4 weeks. I don't think he's there yet. And it's just sort of it's dicey right now because it's like, well, like, what are you going to? I get you'll probably have Warner planted next to Elijah Wilkinson, like, for those first few weeks, but it's like, how's that going to affect your offense? Like, all of a sudden you're a man. You can't. Are you just going to be in max protect every single time?
Right. Yeah. I mean, maybe we will see more 12 as a result, particularly I think if Darnell Mooney isn't ready, which, as of now, he hasn't been put on IR. So, hopefully that means good things, but I don't know. Um, if Darnell Mooney's not ready, maybe we do see more 12 and the team, playing two outside receivers with Pitts as their slot guy to get more of a deep threat out there. And Werner just kind of lines up on the right side and is just going to help chip. And the thing you could say is like Kaleb McGary, amazing run blocker. I think the biggest loss here is actually in run blocking, because I think McGary I think was improving to where he was a consistently like average to slightly above average pass protector, but it wasn't like you said Tristan Wirfs isn't like here where he's like one of the NFL's elite pass blockers. There was already, McGary was never like an elite pass blocker to begin with. So we just need whoever's stepping in to be an average pass blocker, and maybe there won't be as much of a downgrade in pass protection. So maybe Wilkinson can be an average pass blocker. I think we will have an impossible time finding a good run block, like anyone as good run blocking as Kaleb McGary. But maybe, look, there's going to be a lot more play action this year. Hopefully that can help mitigate some of that pass rush. I hope there will be more like inside running to kind of mitigate that, even if they weren't planning on doing more inside running, which they really should have. I mean, we talked about this a lot. Even if they weren't planning on it, they kind of have to now, because that's where your guys are now. You got Bergeron and you got Lidstrom.
It's not just McGary either. Like losing Dahlman from last year is also going to downgrade your run block. Like Drew Dahlman, I know there's some people that have tried to sort of downplay the loss of Drew Dahlman and just act like, oh well going from him to Storm Norton is just like the same. It's not the same. Like no, not Storm Norton, sorry, Ryan Newsel. Like we all love Ryan Newsel's story, UDFA, who has now worked his way into being a starter. We're Ryan Newsel fans on this program, but Ryan Newsel is not the run blocker that Drew Dahlman was. Like, and that's no disrespect to Newsel. Drew Dahlman, I think, was a top 3 run blocker among all centers, like consistently graded as a top 3 run blocker year in and year out. And to lose him and to lose McGary, like both, like this season, that's going to be bigger than what most people are making it out to be, because we saw it last year. The Bijan Robinson and the Falcons run game really got going down the stretch, but they really got going down the stretch after both McGary and Dahlman made their way back from short-term IR. And I mean, we saw the run game struggle a little bit while both those guys were on short-term IR. There is no them coming back. Like both those guys are gone, and in their place, you have Ryan Newsel and Elijah Wilkinson and friends. Like it's a significant downgrade.
Yeah.
Where, like you said, even if they get away with it a little bit in pass protection and they max protect and they put Warner over there, there's no smoke and mirrors you can make to sort of enhance the run game in that way, because with run blocking, you sort of just have to win your one-on-one matchups, and I think we're going to see a lot less of that along the entire offensive line than we did last year.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to make some changes there, and I totally agree with you. Like, there's no way you can spin this that it's going to be a good thing. But my hope is that this forces them to run more inside and like do more man gap stuff, which I think is just good for the offense as a whole to diversify the run game. And I don't know, maybe they were going to do that anyway, but if this forces them to do that, that's maybe the one good thing we can take out of this. Is like teams were just, we talked about this a lot last year, Adnan, like teams were just sitting on the outside zone. Even though the Falcons were arguably the best team in the NFL at running outside zone, it was still like, hit or miss if they could get those runs going, because teams were just sitting on it. They were waiting for the outside zone because they ran it like 70-something% of the time. I mean, by like 20% more than the next closest team.
Well, in theory, you're right. Like, they should start, go to the right less. They should run less outside zone. But that's what we said going into last year, too. And that's what they were saying going into last year, too. I'm not giving them the benefit of the doubt until I actually see a change made. Like, a bigger part of me than not thinks that they're just going to not change anything and that they're going to run outside zone to the right like 65% of the time again. and that they're just going to like bash their heads against the walls, and it's just not going to work because Wilkinson is not Kaleb McGary. And I think they're just going to be like hard-headed enough to where they don't really change anything. They're just going to say, all right, next man up, we're going to plug and play, and we just won't miss a beat, all while they completely miss the beat and all while the run game completely suffers. I hope I'm wrong, but they had a chance to prove me wrong last year and they didn't, because it's not Robinson. I think it's Dwayne Ledford is the run game coordinator, and he's the guy that pretty much dials up, a lot of the strategies like in the run game. And I just don't know if he's going to sort of adapt to the circumstances right now, because I mean, they haven't yet.
Yeah. No, and there's no excuses now. Like, I think last year you could say there were a lot of things that stacked up to make it a really difficult opening season for Zach Robinson, right? Like, working with a quarterback who is extremely limited physically, working with a quarterback, that can't do play action or do rollouts or boots or anything that's like a lot of staples of that Sean McVay offense, stuff that you frequently see there. So that obviously hurt things. And then again, like you're losing two of your best offensive linemen for chunks of the season. Maybe they did want to do more, but they felt like, okay, we need to just kind of stick with the basics here while we're working in these other guys. But like you said, there's not really any excuses now. Like, we've got multiple weeks before. Like, they knew about this McGary. I'm sure the team knew that he was out for the season like a week ago.
Absolutely.
So they've been preparing. Theoretically, they've been able to prepare for multiple weeks. So there are no longer there's not any sort of like, we didn't have time to install something or we didn't have time to prepare. This isn't coming to the forefront like a week before, like 2 days before week one. You've had plenty of time now. So if they don't make any changes, there's no one to blame here but them. Like, there aren't any excuses. So they need to figure out a way to craft this offense. And I know we had Drew Elliott with the $5. Thank you so much, Drew. Saying like, should we just have like Charlie Werner chip basically until Storm comes back? What do you guys think about that? I mean, they should do that some. I don't think they're just going to do that every play. That's because it's too predictable. But, I don't think playing 12 personnel with Pitts and Charlie Werner is actually bad for this offense, especially if Mooney's out. Like, I think that might boost their run blocking a bit. It will help out the right tackle, and like Kyle Pitts already should be on the field, like as the sort of quasi third receiver, in my opinion. So, I think maybe they should play a lot more 12 personnel until Storm Norton's ready, and then maybe they can do a little bit more 11 because they don't need the chip as much. But, I
think they're going to do that for sure, but you're still going to lose something in doing. Like, there is no. You have to give something to take something. So to put Charlie Werner next to the right tackle, you're essentially, planting him out there without him being, as much of a threat as, Darnell Mooney, obviously, last year when he is healthy. So that's going to take something away from your passing game. It's going to take something away from, Michael Penix's weapons. It's going to allow the other team to double team Drake London more. So it sounds great in theory of, put Warner next to him every single snap and just have him chip. Great. But they can't do, because that in of itself will be too predictable as well. Because Warner isn't as much of a weapon in the passing game. So, you're not really expecting him to, just chip and run some, crazy route to where he's going to get a big chunk play. But yeah, overall, like, they will do that. They should do that some, but you can't really expect that to be the move, the entire game, because if they do that, I feel like it would be way too easy for the other team to just lock in on Drake London, at least in the passing game. And I think that's the last thing the Falcons want as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll have to see how they navigate it. It is difficult. We got Alex Foster with the $5 here. Thank you, Alex. Thank you very much. Says Raheem isn't perfect, but he did address quarterback. the defense in so far. He's trying to address offensive tackle. I appreciate him trying to fix things, unlike Arthur Smith. He does seem a little bit less stubborn than Arthur Smith. I don't know. We'll see what the success rate is there, but yeah.
Look, man, the bar is low when it comes to being less stubborn than Arthur Smith. Raheem Morris, like last year, I'm not giving him any credit when it comes to the quarterback position last year because he waited way too long to make that change, and he didn't even give Penix any first team reps with the starters on offense until week 15. I think that really hampered him in that Commanders game. And then the offensive line, I don't think they've done anything to address offensive tackle signing or trading for Gerald and signing a couple practice squad guys. That's not really anything.
Yeah. That's what they've done so far. So, we'll see if they make any additional moves.
Also, I would love it tomorrow if we wake up to an Ian Rappaport report that they've traded for Cam Robinson.
Yeah.
Which, he's a guy that's apparently on the block. I think that's something that would be a bit of a needle mover for the Falcons at right tackle. Or at the very least, I would love for them to try and address this by signing more of a veteran player who has sort of, who's more likely to succeed as a stopgap versus Gerald or Wilkinson. Wilkinson will be playing out of position too. Wilkinson's a guard. He's not a right tackle. I don't know, man. This is just
they're going back to his 2022 tackle tape, So yeah.
If this is our week 1 strategy, and we still have a couple of weeks before then, but if this is our week 1 strategy, I'm worried. I'm really worried.
You should be worried. Yeah, Elijah Wilkinson's starting week 1. Unless they trade for Cam Robinson, I don't think there's any chance that he's not starting week 1. I think after that, they want to see how he does, and then maybe we'll get more drastic changes after that. But for now, I think Elijah Wilkinson's your week 1 starter. So,
because then you have Minnesota in week 2, and on Sunday Night Football in Minnesota, and that's just sort of goes from bad to worse. But yeah, because the thing is, the Falcons, they're starting off in the gauntlet right away. It's not. Last year you had that struggle against Pittsburgh, and honestly, at the end of the year, that game ended up costing them long term.
Yeah.
But last year, at least Pittsburgh, you lose week 1, it's an AFC loss. This year, you lose to Tampa Bay week 1. If you do, that week 1 is arguably a top 2 most important game on the schedule this year, along with week 15 at Tampa Bay. Those are your 2 biggest games. So you can't afford to really punt week 1.
Yeah. So hopefully they won't do that. The Bucs are equally roughed up. So hopefully, neither team's going to be, ideal going into this week 1. So hopefully the Falcons will have the advantage. The Falcons typically do play the Bucs really well at home, so we do have that to maybe lean on. But it's going to be dicey. It's going to be real sweaty. So we're just going to hope for the best there. But let's talk about congratulating some guys that did end up making this roster and practice squad. We'll start with the squad because, Trisha and I went pretty deep on the roster yesterday. The squad is sort of the newer stuff, but we'll definitely go back and touch on the roster a little bit. But shout out, of course, a lot of guys that people were surprised that got cut, myself included, ended up back on the squad. I know the big names for most people: Nick Nash at wide receiver, Kobe Bryant at corner. Kobe Bryant, my Kobe Bryant to the practice squad tweet had freaking 1,200 likes. People are obsessed with Kobe Bryant. Adnan, it is it's the most hype I've ever seen about a practice squad signing in my life. But C.J. Henderson's back on the practice squad. Chris Blair, Khalid Kareem is there. Contavious Street, all these guys. Lenny Krieg ends up making it back, so he is now protected as the 17th practice squad player for the whole season now. So shout out to Krieg. But yeah, the Falcons did seem to be able to get back pretty much everyone they wanted on the practice squad.
Yeah. Nobody from the Falcons was claimed, so that's very good for the team. The 3 wide receivers are exactly who I thought were gonna be there. I think we predicted that a couple of weeks ago. Nash, Blair, and Drummond, those were all guys who stood out in the preseason. But I think it was clear that Casey Washington was always going to make this team. And I think David Sills sort of pulled away completely by the time the second preseason game even rolled around. I think as soon as Sills was taken out of that second preseason game, it's like, okay, this dude is probably making the roster. Carlos Washington never had a chance to, really have that competition with Nathan Carter for the RB3 spot. Well, because of his hamstring injury, it's a shame for him because I think he would have had the inside track. I think he would have been the favorite to win that RB3 spot, but it's happened so many times before. You get injured at an unfortunate time and you lose out on a chance to make a roster spot. The guy you're competing with has, a blow-up game, which Nathan Carter did in that week 2 game. And congratulations to Nathan Carter. Out of all the UDFAs, he was the one that makes the roster. Even though he wasn't the most high-profile one, you had Nash and Bryant. I think they like Bryant, but Kobe Bryant was also hurt throughout for a good chunk of training camp. I never really foresaw him really making the roster after that initial injury. I was surprised. I thought CJ Henderson had a chance. I thought he had a legitimate shot at making the roster. They ended up going with Mike Ford instead, but I feel like it's more so just that CJ Henderson was signed late and he didn't have enough time to really, do enough to make the roster. But I feel like CJ Henderson is going to be that first elevation if anything happens to any of the secondary or any of the cornerbacks. Veteran player. I think I liked what I saw from him. Ronnie Harrison, same case, got signed late, so he didn't really have much of a chance. But I think the team probably had an idea that they wanted him at least on the practice squad, him and Henderson. And then Contavious Street, veteran player. You like having some of those veteran guys on the squad just in case there's an injury. You can throw them in there immediately. The one thing that sort of sucks for these guys, along the interior, I think Contavious Street gained 30 pounds, over the off season to play a little more. Can you imagine just being told to put on 30 pounds over a summer, putting on the weight, and then still getting cut? That would kind of make me mad, bro.
Yeah.
It's what it's hard to take this off. What do you mean? It's not just all right, tonight I'm gonna melt this weight off. It takes a lot of so that's just, but that's the reality for some of these guys for sure. And then Khalid Kareem, who I'm sure we're going to talk about here soon. He was someone who I think we both thought was going to make the roster over D'Angelo Malone, but I think they ended up going with special teams prowess, which D'Angelo Malone is, one of their top special teams guys. But yeah, Khalid Kareem was definitely a guy where there was, among the people who are really following this roster in depth, there was some outrage about Khalid Kareem being cut.
Yeah. It just disappoints me because I just think, Khalid Kareem is just a much better player. D'Angelo Malone's a better special teamer, there's no doubt about that. But, I know the argument has been oh, well, they already have a bunch of run stuffing edges. Do they really? Are we how much did we actually see Zach Harrison and Brandon Doyle play edge? We didn't see that very much at all. So kind of just seems like it's Braylon Trice that plays run defending edge. So who else is doing it? Are we asking the rookies to go stop the run? Are we, because the Falcons are rotating Dorless and Harrison in the inside a lot. So are they going to be playing edge and inside? I just think it's a little bit questionable. And it's, the other side of the coin is you need some good special teamers. There's no doubt about that. Teams do need to stock, some of these depth positions on the roster with just good special teamers. But how many pure special teamers are we going to keep? You mentioned it, Mike Ford is here. Felipe Franks is here. We got, D'Angelo Malone taking a spot. How many, I think Daryl Hodge has shown that he's more than just a special teamer at this point. But those other guys, it's they don't offer you anything outside of special teams. So, how many?
Yeah. Look, I don't want to harp on Jack Nelson too much. I get it. But it's why is he on the roster? Are you ever going to be in a situation where you're actually comfortable putting this guy into the lineup? I don't know why they're carrying 8 offensive linemen, and then this isn't even counting Jarrell, who's going to be a 9th.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I feel like they could have easily just like put Nelson on the practice squad and then carried another player like a Khalid Kareem. But yeah, I don't know. Like I don't understand. I don't understand the reasoning because I don't. I get it. You're down a couple tackles, but is this really going to be the guy you trust to take snaps like at any point on this offensive line at all? Like I wouldn't trust that at all. I would rather sign a free agent off the scrap heap at this point.
Yeah, I think we know why he made the roster. They don't want to cut their draft pick. I think that's a big part of it.
Done it before.
I know.
They did it with Zion Logue. It's like
I know.
But and the thing is, like with Nelson, like he showed that he was bad in the preseason. So it's like it made less sense to cut Zion Logue than it did to cut Jack Nelson. So I don't understand it.
Yeah. No, I mean I think it had a lot to do with him being a draft pick. They don't want the PR of cutting him. And like I think they were like, well, would we rather keep him or Brandon Parker? And like, I don't blame them for keeping him over Brandon Parker, even though Brandon Parker was like slightly better. But like he's probably going to the practice squad sooner than later would be my guess.
Yeah, I mean,
but
he'll be the guy that like probably goes down when Storm gets activated. But it's but I feel like it's a waste of a roster spot until that happens. Like it's a waste. And this is, look, man, I'm not like just looking at this as a whole. There's a lot of holes like on this roster. Like there's a lot of holes. There is not much depth like on this roster. Like when you get beyond the starters, and beyond some of those like this team is very top heavy. This team is very, very like we all love Bijan. We all love Jesse Bates, Drake London. Like we hope Michael Penix is going to be him. But it's like when you start looking at some of the depth, like along this team on both offense and defense, it's like, are you really going to be able to survive an injury to some of these stars? And there's going to be injuries. It's the NFL. No team is ever lucky enough to like be 100% healthy throughout the season. And honestly, I think this is sort of just a result of so many bad drafts, like year in and year out, now sort of coming to fruition to the point where, there's just not a lot of NFL quality like depth like along this roster. It's a lot of swings and misses in the draft, especially after day one, and combined with your backup quarterback taking up $40 million in cap space this year. It's in what's a do or die season for the Falcons this year. It's not good. Like it's not great. Like right now, like this is, I'm genuinely worried going into the season.
Yeah, they need some health luck, that's for sure. And it seems like Jordan Fuller was released, and I know a lot of people are like, whoa, what's going on there? I think the Jordan Fuller thing is procedural. Like my guess is that we're gonna have some guys put on injured reserve tomorrow, and then Fuller will come. Like Fuller wasn't subject to waivers, so that's probably why they chose him over some other guys. There's no way they're going into week one with 3 safeties. That's not going to happen. Even 4 is less than most teams keep. Most teams keep 5, so they're going to re-sign Fuller at some point. And then we'll have to see with these other guys, but where they're carrying 7 corners, that I think that hints heavily that one of those corners is probably going to short-term IR, most likely, Clark Phillips, because who knows when the last time he practiced. Same thing at receiver. I think hopefully it's not Darnell Mooney. It might be Jamal Agnew, who we know also was not practicing. We'll see, but again, 7 is more than most teams keep. It seems unlikely that they're going to hold 7, so probably going to have one of those guys go down to injured reserve return. But yeah, I mean,
I respect that. I respect gaming the system in that way. Like, you have the opportunity, and yeah, I mean, Fuller, look, man, like safety position next to Watts or next to Jesse Bates. Like I know Justin Simmons fell short of our lofty expectations last year, but I think he still gave you like league average play at strong safety. I don't like. We all like Xavier Watts, but asking a rookie to give you league average play is, it's asking a lot. Like league average play is, he would be like a top tier rookie in that sense. And then like I do trust Fuller as like a backup option, and Hellum's like safety depth is like fine.
Yeah, safety's actually fine. It's like funny that's the one because there's only 3 of them right now. But yeah, the safety depth is actually fine. But yeah,
safety depth is fine. Say what you want. I trust Natrone Brooks as a backup cornerback.
Yeah. I hope he's the starting nickel. Yeah, I feel better about that than the other options right now. But
say D. Alford's name. Says I know D. Alford's not happy with the fan base like online, but
Yep. Guys, I'm sorry to say I don't think D. Alford's coming on the show. I know it's been all summer. I don't think D. Alford's coming back. I think Adnan, poisoned the well on that one. So
he's definitely not coming back. But yeah,
shout out to D. D, if you change your mind, hit me up. We'd love to talk to you, like straight up. Like, yeah.
D, I don't even have to be here. Like,
Adnan doesn't have to be here. We can have someone else on if you don't want to talk to Adnan. But congrats on making the roster, though. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like corner, I don't know. Like Billy Bowman, we like Billy Bowman for the future. Are we like sure he's going to be an impact player like day one? Like, are we sure he's going to be, good enough like as a nickel corner day one? He looked like he couldn't even beat out D. Alford for most of training camp. I don't like linebacker. Like I said, I'm not trusting Troy Anderson's health at all. Like Troy Anderson gives me a snap this year, then I'll consider that like a pleasant surprise. I like Josh Woods making it. I think Josh Woods completely deserved it.
Yeah.
I think he had a strong camp, but a strong preseason. But it's like Bertrand and Woods, like that's not really instilling much confidence in the inside linebacker depth. The edge guys, you're pretty much fully reliant on those rookies like making a big impact, and if they don't, then you're going to be in real trouble. I don't know, man. Like it's
yeah, there might be some like that linebacker's one spot where you can sometimes find solid guys like just out there in free agency. So if we actually have to go that route, we might be able to find something. But yeah, it's not going to be great, but maybe something. Could be available.
Caden Ellis, like he's one of those top heavy guys. We all love Caden Ellis. Like it's going to be you and Divine Diablo. I really hope that they're right about like all the praise they've heaped on Divine Diablo all offseason. I mean, if those guys are playing and if they're healthy and if they're impactful, then great. Inside linebacker is solved. But there's too many ifs right now. Like there's a lot of stuff that really needs to all hit and all go right for this defense to be competent.
Yeah.
And statistically, I don't think it's likely for everything to hit.
No, I don't think so either. So, they're going to be hoping for some health here. We'll see exactly how this plays out, with how they're going to shuffle the roster, who needs to go on short-term IR or whatever. I don't think this is the week one roster. We're going to see some more shuffling. We're going to see some more procedural moves and things of that nature. Your guess is as good as mine, guys. I don't know exactly how that's going to play out, but yeah, I mean, at this point, it feels weird that like maybe the edge room is like the deepest spot, maybe other than safety on defense, like somehow. So maybe we'll get some nice play from those guys. I think the interior looks okay, but again, they're only keeping 5, so I think there's a chance that they're looking for a nose tackle still. Like you said, linebacker's kind of concerning. We'll see what happens at corner with like Phillips if he's healthy or whatever. I think Phillips is fine as a depth corner if he's healthy, but I don't know. But Natrone Brooks I do like. I honestly prefer Natrone Brooks to start at nickel week 1. I hope that's the case, unless Billy Bowman is legitimately ready. It seems like maybe they were slightly leaning towards him, which okay, if he's ready, let's go for it. Let's send it. But if not, I feel pretty confident like Brooks will be like solid at least if we need him. So,
but it's also like Natrone Brooks. Let's say day 1 nickel corner, Billy Bowman isn't like ready. What happens on the outside? Like, do you just shift and shuffle? Like, let's God forbid, one of the outside corners has to miss time, do you then shift Natrone to the outside, and then you throw in either Alford or Bowman at nickel, or
Right.
I mean, that's where Natrone's versatility comes into play.
Yeah.
Because I don't think any of us want to see Mike Ford like taking legitimate defensive snaps this year.
Yeah, I'm not sure I was wanting to have Mike Ford, at all, but he is a good special teamer, so at least there's that. But shout out to special teams ace. The Falcons better have like the best damn special teams in the NFL with how many like pure special teamers they're keeping on this roster. So,
other guys like shout out to Jerome Brooks, who's finally made the 53 for the first time going into the season. He was on the active roster, I think, for a couple of games last year, but taking Quatoriano is another dude. Like,
yeah,
we're not talking about him because I think it's not a surprise that he made it as tight end 3, but coming into the summer, I don't think we really saw that coming as like, all right, like Tegan's going to be the tight end. And he won that like decisively. Like he won that battle like very, very decisively. So I think that's I want to give him his flowers because he had a hell of a training camp. He had he had that like second preseason game where he had that amazing special teams play where he forced and recovered the fumble. Mm-hmm. In which case it's like, all right, yeah, like this dude is at 1,000,000% making the roster after that. But yeah, it's always it's a great story, like between Brooks, Quatoriano, and then Nathan Carter. Like all of these guys are like first time 53-man roster guys. So it's and Josh Woods, Josh Woods as well. So it's a special thing. It's a special thing for all of these dudes, and they all deserve to be celebrated. Jack Nelson too, even though I did throw shade on him during the show, but everyone who made the 53 for the first time going into week 1, that's a big deal. It's a big accomplishment, and great job to all of those guys, even though I do very much question the depth on this team.
Yeah, no, shout out to Tegan. I'm happy for him. He's just had trouble staying healthy, but I think he has like legit maybe tight end 2 type of upside. So I hope that, he'll get some opportunities this year, maybe as like that second blocking tight end in some packages and things like that. Looks like he's got special teams upside too. I guess he had never played special teams before. I don't think that was his first special team snap, like he said. I would be surprised if that was true, but yeah.
Hey man, that was a special teams play of the preseason.
Oh yeah, that was like the best one we saw. Yeah,
he like just took the ball from the Titans returner and just like yanked it and like just kept it. It's like you know how hard it is to just grab a football from another like professional football player and it's just yours. Like that was a hell of a play.
Oh yeah, impressive stuff there. I like the other shout outs you gave. And like shout out to David Sills too. Like we mentioned him earlier. Like somebody that I didn't have any expectations for, immediately showed up to camp, was like Kirk Cousins' favorite guy, and apparently made such an impression on the team that they're like, we got to keep him on the roster. So I don't know if he'll stay on the 53, depending on moves that they have to make like all season. But I think Sills is like a very obvious like Drake London backup. He can do a lot of the same stuff, not at the same level, but can kind of replicate that skill set a little bit. And Casey Washington, I know at one point during camp we were like, man, is Casey Washington going to make it? Like there's all these guys are showing out. Is he going to be able to stay ahead of Chris Blair and Sills, who was impressing? And I think Casey Washington came on super strong once Darnell Mooney left the lineup. And basically, I think we'll probably see Casey Washington like starting.
He's gonna be on the outside opposite London like week 1. That was clear to me during practices, in walkthroughs. Like it was Casey Washington out there. Like he was playing exclusively with Penix in the ones in scrimmage, and then like in walkthroughs it was London and Casey on the other side. And Zach Robinson does come from that Sean McVay tree. To where if Casey Washington is starting, I would expect him to play like 95% of the snaps. If they're going to play him in London or in London on opposite sides, because I think if they do run that 12 personnel, it would sort of take Ray McLeod off the field a little more than it would Casey Washington.
Yeah, no, that I'm excited. I'm like mildly excited. I definitely would rather have Darnell Mooney week 1. Like, not saying that, but I do think it's like interesting to see if we could get something out of Casey Washington. Like, that would be a good long-term development if like Casey Washington could be a starting receiver.
He and Penix have chemistry. Like, Penix talked about it. He said, because last year they were both twos. Like, they were both on the twos. Like, he was Penix's favorite target in scrimmages with the twos. I remember he had a big night during Friday Night Lights last year. And Penix talked about it. He said, like, Casey Washington blows up his phone constantly talking about, like, let's get some reps in. Let's get some reps in. I feel like Penix, like Penix realizes he has the work ethic. Penix trusts him. And look, man, Casey Washington, I feel like he's going to be a hell of a dynasty staff for you dynasty fantasy players. Like, he probably won't make much of an impact this year, when Mooney comes back. But that's if he's still available in your dynasty leagues, I would snag him.
Yeah. If you got like a taxi squad spot or whatever, yeah.
I was going to say, I would stash him on your taxi squad spot. And, I mean, this could be a guy in the long term, maybe after Darnell Mooney's contract expires or they move on from Mooney, maybe this is your wide receiver 2 of the future.
Yeah, could be. I think he's an interesting guy. I think the Falcons clearly wanted to get more size in the wide receiver room. I mean, we saw that with the guys they brought in this offseason. And, the 2 guys that ended up, making the roster that we weren't necessarily expecting, were the two big-bodied receivers. So it seems like they want to get more size out there. So that could mean, maybe Casey Washington in the slot eventually, or, maybe when London goes into the slot, they have Casey Washington take over that outside spot and take Ray off the field. I mean, I don't know. So we'll see. But I do think that is like a positive development. Like, I actually think it would be nice to see Casey Washington. I actually feel like weirdly okay if Casey Washington has to play. He's not going to be Darnell Mooney. It's going to be a different look. But there's some things about his game that, like, he'll help the run blocking, because Darnell Mooney, like, he gives effort as a run blocker. Like, I'm not questioning his effort, but he is like 5'10", right? Like, I mean, there's only so much we can do with that. So Casey Washington is not 5'10". He's like 6'2", 200. He's going to be a little bit more effective out there on the perimeter. So.
Let's say I'm more confident in Casey Washington's ability to replace Mooney than I am Elijah Wilkinson's ability to replace Kaleb McGary.
Well, it's pretty low-hanging fruit, but yeah, I totally agree with that one. Yeah, totally agree with that one. It's a slam dunk prediction, I think, right there. But yeah, we got a couple questions here. We got Alex Foster at the $5. Thank you, Alex. Says, fans will be scared if we're 2-5. Yeah, but I'll be scared if we're 7-0. I'll be way too suspicious to enjoy it. I'm calling BS on that one, Alex. Okay, I think if they're 7-0, we're all talking Super Bowl, all right? I don't care. Yeah. I don't care about it. If they're 7-0, I'm enjoying that. Yeah. Yeah.
It means they'll have beaten the Bills. Yeah. They'll have beaten the Commanders. They'll have beaten the 49ers. I think the Dolphins fall in there too. They'll have beaten the Bucks. Like, if they're 7-0 running through this gauntlet,
they'll be the talk of the NFL. Yeah. They'll be on the cover of the midseason report. So
you won't be like, you'll turn ESPN on and they'll be leading every story with the Atlanta Falcons. If
the big shock of the season, the Atlanta Falcons. I'm pulling for that. Let's hope that happens. So,
that's what we're talking. Penix is probably going to be in MVP talks.
Yeah.
Or if they're really running Bijan, then it's either going to be Penix or Bijan in MVP talks. Like, at that point.
Yeah. If there's 7-0. Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah, I'm certainly interested in that 7-0 reality. I would be very open.
I would like to subscribe to that newsletter.
Yeah, let's get that going. I'm into that one for sure. And then we got Drew Elliott with the $2. Thank you so much, Drew. Says, if we don't make the playoffs, is it clean house? Well,
look, Drew, I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel like it should have been clean house last year. I think last year was the year where they had to make the playoffs, and I was calling for it at the end of the season. I don't trust this coaching staff or this regime at all. I mean, I hope that they make the playoffs and that, that talk gets quashed a little bit and that they prove me wrong. But yeah, definitely no matter what, if they're not in the playoffs this year, I feel like it would be an absolute travesty if Arthur Blank doesn't clean house. Even if they go 9-8, I think I feel like the worst case scenario is they go 9-8 and Arthur Blank says, "Oh well, it's enough that we got a winning season for the first time since 2017 or 2017. We're just gonna like keep them and like run it back next year." And then as Fontenot and Morris gaslight the fan base into saying that this season was a success. It's not a success unless they make the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think you can ever like spin success until there's playoffs involved. Like, would it be a step forward if they get a winning record? Yes, but would it be a success? I don't think a winning record's enough. I think they got to make the playoffs. But will they fire them if they get a winning record and don't make the playoffs? Probably not. I don't think Adnan's necessarily wrong about judging this regime harshly, particularly for how big they whiffed on Jimmy Lake. I mean, what a disaster that was. We all saw that one coming. That was just a horrible hire. But like, I think they were always going to give them 2 years unless they like crash and burn, which they didn't crash and burn. They definitely underperformed expectations, but they didn't crash and burn. And then so this year, I think they just need to make the playoffs, and then we don't have to have this discussion. But I do think if they get a winning record, they're probably safe. But is that like correct? That is much more of a debate. But I don't think Arthur Blank's firing these guys if they get 9 wins. So
look, man, especially after I'm also coming from it from the perspective of you also spent your first round pick next year, and you're down a first round. Like, you're packaging a pick in the teens to the Rams. Also, if you don't like make these playoffs, and yeah, I mean, to me, like 9 and 8, because I think you're completely right. I think if they win 9 games, I don't think that Arthur Blank is going to be brave enough to make this. I mean, we've seen Arthur Blank stick with regimes way too long. We saw him stick with Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff for a year longer than he should have, and that set the team back 2 years. I think if going 9 and 8, I think he's going to. I mean, he's going to sort of let himself get gaslighted into that idea of, oh well, we're on the right track. It's okay. I don't think it's okay. Like, I don't think it'll be okay, and I think that is the worst case scenario for the Falcons long term. I would rather bottom out, win 4 or 5 games, and just like do what needs to be done and make the changes versus, oh, we go 9 and 8 and we just keep everyone and just run it back next year.
Yeah. So we'll see how that plays out. But I again, like, let me check on this because as of yesterday, I think their playoff odds had dropped. They're still the same as of yesterday, but they used to be. I think at one point the Falcons were plus 118. And they've since dropped twice, and they are now down to plus 144 to make the playoffs according to FanDuel. So they are behind the Arizona Cardinals now, which that one I don't get. Like, I mean, I guess I think the Cardinals were not as bad as a lot of people think last year, but that one I still don't get. But yeah, the only other team that's ahead of them in the NFC that's like not favored to make the playoffs is the Cardinals. But I mean, I don't blame that one makes sense to me that the odds would go down after the loss of Kaleb McGary, but I still think that's a pretty good bet that they'll make the playoffs, because I just think the Tampa Bay Bucks luck is going to run out sooner or later. Like, there's no way they're hitting on 3 straight offensive coordinators. This is not going to happen. The second one was unlikely enough. Like,
look, we said that last year, and I feel like I'm coping just as much as you are when it comes to that, but at the end of the day, like, the Bucs offense just has so much talent when they're healthy. When Wirfs is there, I think Igbukah is gonna, like, man, I feel like that Igbukah pick is gonna be something that's a really strong pick for them. Like anything they get from Chris Godwin is gonna be, gravy like this year, because Godwin is out right now. I think Evans is still like kicking. I think he still has another 1,000-yard season in him, and then Bucky Irving is a very underrated running back. And I think them finally like making the move to make Bucky Irving the featured running back is what sort of propelled them last year down the stretch. And now, like, they don't have Rachaad White wasting snaps. Like, as a Falcons fan, I loved it when I saw Rachaad White in the backfield for the Bucs last year. He's a good receiving back, but he's a bad runner. Like, he's consistently been graded as one of the worst like running backs when it comes to like rushes like in the NFL, and I think Bucky Irving is much better. So I feel like I feel like that offense is too talented to fail, even if they're going to have a first-time coordinator.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be bad. I just think they won't be like the number one offense in the NFL again, or close to it, right? I think that running game in particular is going to take a big step back, even though, I think that Bucky Irving is the right call there. I think they made the right decision going with him as their lead guy, but the passing game is just too talented, like, to fall off. But again, it's like they chose. I think they had to draft Igbokwe because they figured out that Chris Godwin was like not even close to ready. Like I don't know if he plays this year or when he plays. Like,
yeah, that injury was catastrophic.
Yeah,
I think it was just a torn ACL. Like, I think he tore multiple ligaments, and I mean, he got injured in October last year.
Yeah,
and there's no way he's coming back before it's like a full year. And even if he comes back, like, I think this year he would be a shell of his former self for this year at the very least. So
yeah. So,
but I mean. Yeah, and McMillan is out. Looks like for a while
until week 9. I think they said, like, with the bye. So, RIP my fantasy dream in Dynasty, but whatever.
Igbokwe's a hell of a fantasy pick right now.
Oh yeah, big time.
If you manage to get Igbokwe, like if you manage to draft and you manage to get him in like the 8th round, like that's absolute like money. That's a smash, right?
I think I got him in all but one of my leagues. So. Because even now, like in sleeper ADP, he's still like in the 11th round or something. Which, like, no, don't let him fall to the 11th round, guys. Don't do that. Take him. I would take him as early as the 8th round. But if you're in superflex, maybe the 9th. But
hey man, I have a fantasy draft coming up, in my like home league, and yeah, man, I hope nobody from my there's one person from my league that like watches consistently, but
maybe they won't make it all the way to the end. They won't see this. Yeah,
hopefully not. But like that's man, like that's a guy who would love to lead that draft with.
Yeah, no, if I can get Ricky Pearsall and Emeka Egbuka in the middle of that draft, I'm feeling really good about that. So. So that's my strategy.
Has an injury that only a cash influx can fix right now. So
it's the cash injury. I think they misspelled it on the injury reports.
I think one of the fantasy doctors called it like a grade 4 like injury. There's 3 grades. Like grade 4, it can only be healed with like
a certain amount of money just injected directly. Yeah.
By the way, though, like I feel like we had this conversation. I made this point last year. Holding in is the way to go, not holding out. Like you hold out, they're gonna fine you. You're gonna lose money, and you're like you hold out through week 9. Your contract sort of like I forget the word. The
like tolls. Term. Yeah.
Tolls. That's what it is. What happened to Le'Veon Bell a few years ago. You hold in, they can't do anything. Like you hold in, and it's like, oh, by the way, guys, I have a neck injury. My back hurts. Are you gonna tell him it doesn't? Like, are you gonna disprove that injury? Like, you can't do anything to him until until he decides, oh well, now I have enough money. It's what Terry McLaurin just did. He just got a new contract with Washington. He's been holding in the whole time. It's what TJ Hawkinson did a couple of years ago with Minnesota. Like that's players like in the future. Not Falcons players, but like everyone else, like holding in, like hold in, like that's the wave of the future right now. These teams don't really do anything to you.
No, that's the Galaxy Brain strategy there. So that good advice, business advice from Adnan to close out the show for any NFL hopefuls watching tonight. But thank you guys so much for joining us. This is a fun show. As much like, curmudgeon-y as I've been about arguing about the third stringers on Twitter, it shouldn't really like impact your takes. The impactful move will be if they can get Cam Robinson or another like legitimate starting tackle in here. That will be the one that actually matters. So keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out for maybe a nose tackle ad, the IR moves that we might see tomorrow. But otherwise, guys, that's pretty much all that we got for now. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. It really helps us out. If you haven't left a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice, podcast listeners, shout out to you guys. You do that. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, that both of those are very helpful. If you want to support the show, join up on Patreon, patreon.com/Falcoholic Live. Also, you could join the YouTube channel memberships if you're more of a live video enjoyer. And yeah, we're going to be on a little bit of a hiatus over the weekend. It's Dragon Con weekend, so I'm going to be fully out of commission from tomorrow through Monday. And then we will have a Tuesday takes for you guys on Tuesday with Trayshawn to get you going for week 1, because we are less than 2 weeks away from kickoff in Atlanta. We're going to have Tuesday takes. We're going to have live on Wednesday. We're going to have a preview show going over the Falcons-Bucks matchup. And then, of course, the first post-game show of the season coming on Sunday. Hopefully it'll be a happy one. I'd like to hold off on the just cripplingly depressing, angry post-game shows. If we could hold off for 1 week on that, that would be fantastic. So let's get that week 1 dub. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. He's Adnan Ikic at Say Which Way. Anything else you're working on you want to let people know about?
I'm just gonna plug the show. I'm gonna start working on my weekly articles starting next week throughout the season. But yeah, I'm just plugging the Falcoholic.com. We've got some great trackers up there. The practice squad tracker. If you missed any of the names, and a lot of analysis where we're sort of ramping up going into week 1, and enjoy this last week of being stress free before the Falcons sort of ruin it all.
Yep. Can't wait. Yeah. It's about that time, folks. So we'll be back next week to get you guys ready for week 1. It's almost here, NFL season. So enjoy these last couple days. Yeah.
Also, at least the weather is lovely in Atlanta right now.
Yeah, this is it's gonna be like 70s this weekend. It's gonna be fantastic. I'm pretty excited about that. So if you're at Dragon Con, come hit me up. I'll be in full garb. But yeah, you'll probably recognize me if you're watching this show. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. We'll see you next time on the Falcoholic Live and Dirty Birds of Bruce podcast. Have a great night, folks. See you next week.